So Carly, I think I might have told you this story before, but in my last company, we had an opportunity to close a deal for $1 million and we turned it down. And the reason why, there were two reasons. The first was that it wasn't recurring revenue. It was a one-time payment, not a single payment, but they were going to pay us over time. But it was one time. And then we were focused on recurring revenue. We wanted to build a business with kind of a subscription model. So it didn't match that. And while we could do it, technically we had the skills to do it. It wasn't going to be a project that moved our company ahead in any way strategically. And in fact, it was going to distract us from our core business. So we actually walked away from it and said no to $1 million.
But you stuck to your goals, or your, like what you were more aligned with. Joe, I had a horror story for not saying no. And that was when I first went out on my own as a solopreneur, I was saying yes to everything because I didn't have that steady paycheck anymore. It was all up to me to make my income. And so if anybody had a project, it was kind of one of those, yes, and I'll figure it out. Yes, and I'll figure it out type things. And I've said this before, it was arguably the most amount of money I was ever making, but also the most miserable I have ever been from a professional standpoint. And it's because, yeah, I was making a good living, but I was missing out on milestone moments. I was sacrificing nights and weekends. And I just kind of realized, like, as great as it was financially, it took such a huge toll on my personal life, and it just wasn't worth it to me in the end. And that's when I discovered the power of no through trial and error, and realizing by saying no to people, I was able to open the door for the types of clients I want to work with, for the rate that I want to set. And so I had some lower months financially, but then I had bigger months than I was when I was saying yes to everything, because I was setting the rates where I should be and choosing my clients wisely.
And probably a lot more dollars per hour, I would bet, if you were being strategic like that.
Yes, it was such a game changer. And I really we always talk about going back to your why and niching down. And I feel like if you can combine those two things, you can be really strong with the power of no. Because if you niche down to the type of audience that you want, both from what they do and what services or product you're offering, but also the type of people you want to work with, and also know who you are and the type of lifestyle you want. Let's say you're a mom that wants to work from 8 to 3 every day because you want to be there for drop-offs and pickups, then you need to be able to use the power of no to create that schedule for yourself. It may seem scary at first, and it will be scary because you're turning people down. Nobody likes saying no to, I don't like saying no to people, at least, but it just opens so many doors. And so when people first take that leap into solopreneurship, I do not want them to be afraid to say no and to actually embrace that power.
Starting with a set of goals and a set of criteria, obviously.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
That you have to kind of know what you want to say yes to and say no to the other stuff. Now, and the other thing is there are people out there that will just try to engage you, maybe for money, maybe not, people asking for favors, oh, check this out, can you do that? And, my wife, I don't know where she heard it somewhere, but it's a really good saying. She said, if you don't focus on achieving your goals, someone else will happily enlist you to in achieving theirs.
That's deep.
And yeah, it's like you really have to think that way because you can get whipsawed all over. If you have a talent and a skill, people need, there's a lot of people that are happy to have you help them. They're not necessarily going to write a check, but so let's talk about some of the things that you should say no to, right? One of the things that I find is the stuff that's urgent. It's urgent, but it's not important, right? You got these things that come at you and it's like, oh my God, this has to be done tomorrow. But what difference is the world going to be and your world going to be if it doesn't happen? And there's a lot of that stuff that comes at me at least. And it's...
Joe, what was George's analogy that we were talking about yesterday? He had the perfect analogy for the difference between urgent and important. Do you remember?
Oh, he said that urgent was, I don't remember, important was your highest paying client needs something, and urgent was you have a due date for something tomorrow.
Okay.
And some things are, but some things are urgent and important, and that's where you should be putting a lot of your time. And then there's the other things that are important but not urgent, like, fixing up your website to reflect your current business, right? It's not like nobody's like going to be yelling at you for being late, but if your website isn't telling your story, it's probably not a good thing. But it's really important, even though it's not urgent, on the calendar, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the other thing is we talk about saying no to projects and clients and things like that, but I think you have to also say no to the skill sets that you provide. So in marketing, when I was saying yes to everything, that included me saying, yeah, I can handle your PPC, paid per click. Yeah, I can do your social posts. Yeah, I can do this. I am not great at PPC. I don't enjoy doing social, but I was saying yes to all of it because they were going to pay me to do it. So I was like, well, yeah, I'll figure it out. And then that figuring it out takes time that you're probably not accounting for in your hourly or your retainer or anything like that. And you just had to, and so finally I was like, no, I don't want to learn more about PPC. I don't want to be working in social media. And so it's not just saying no to the other people, but it's saying no to you and saying no to what you should be focusing on, because otherwise you'll just spread yourself too thin.
And you might make money, like you said, but you don't make a life. And really, if we're solopreneurs, we're doing something because we want something beyond just money. So it's probably never been a good idea to just do everything that anybody asks you to do. So what do we do? What do we take away from this? What are some things we can do or to give people to do to try to fix this? I mean, one thing would be to just look at your business and say, what are 3 things in your business that you should start saying no to? Are there 3 things? But if there are, what are they? And identify those things. And then I think one of the other things that maybe you can help with is it's hard, like you said, for people to say no sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you get past that? Because I'm a little more inclined. At this point in my life, I've kind of learned to say no. I was very much somebody that never wanted to say no when I was young, but it's been a lot of years that I've been going, I'm not doing that. So maybe you can give some advice, because I don't remember what I did.
Yeah, I'd love to say I'm a recovering people pleaser. I am a very active and nowhere near recovery people pleaser. It's something that I know I need to work on. But so saying no is very uncomfortable for me. But I have to get back to my why. And I have burned the candle at both ends. I have done everything you probably shouldn't do from a burnout standpoint. And during that phase, I got so low from a burnout standpoint. I was just so exhausted and was only working, and it just wasn't worth it. So I think I don't want to say hit rock bottom, but I was at such a low career-wise from a motivation standpoint and all of that I knew what that feels like. And I don't want to feel that again. And it makes the no's a lot easier once you realize how much you could actually be working.
Yeah. And that's, you don't want people to hit rock bottom.
No.
I mean, from my perspective, I think that it's just a matter of keeping those goals in mind. And once like I said, with that last company, people this company was actually offering us $1 million. And it's like, how do you say no to that? Because you say, you know what, where do I want to be in 2 or 3 years? We had a vision for where we wanted to be. What is important to us? And the answer was never yes to what they were offering. And so if you can keep that stuff in mind, what am I trying to do? What are my goals? What do I want? What don't I want? It makes it easier to kind of just politely say that, no, I'm sorry, I'm not the right person for this. Maybe try to find somebody to refer them to, something like that. It makes you feel a little better, but it's really important.
Well, Joe, ask me if you think we should continue with this episode.
No.
We're going to let people get back to their day.
All right.
Listeners, this was a great soundbite. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we would love that 5-star review. We would love for you to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. And we will see you next time on The Aspiring Solopreneur.